Welcome to Intro Skippers, your favorite podcast about what's streaming and the culture around it, presented by your friends with unique perspectives on entertainment because we work in it.
Yes, we do.
Yes. I'm Kim.
I'm Jason.
All right, let's get into it. Jason, I have a very simple question for you.
Okay.
If you do something because of your beliefs, but you're not in direct control of your beliefs, do you have free will?
No.
Just a simple question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a no. It's a pretty definitively no.
Yeah, I guess not. Anyway, today we're talking about Heretic.
I loved this movie.
I didn't realize you would love it this much.
I love this movie so much.
This one was actually, was it both of our ideas? Both of our ideas?
It was both of our ideas. I know that.
Okay, so Heretic is a 2024 American horror film. I would describe it more as a thriller, but sure. It was written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. It stars Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East as two Mormon missionaries who attempt to convert a man, Hugh Grant, who is more dangerous than he seems. Shot over a period of 1 month in Vancouver and shot in chronological order, directors Scott Beck and Brian Woods spent 10 years developing the film.
Wow.
One of the reasons this took so long was because of the meticulous amount of theological research they had to do.
That's fair, because obviously the character of Mr. Reed, played by Hugh Grant, is a theological expert to some degree.
I have some trivia on that, actually.
Wow. Okay, but I wanted to mention one thing. You said it's a horror, but you would call it a thriller.
Personally, I would call it more of a thriller.
I would call it a horror, and here's why. This is what I always judge it on. Would I watch this movie or show this movie to my parents? The answer is no, I would not.
That's because you don't want to get into a conversation about religion with your parents.
No. It's about the scene towards the end with his wives. And the pie.
With the cutting off the fingers.
Yeah, and all, even before that, the killing, the eating the pie and dying.
While Jason is saying this, I'm going to point out there will be spoilers for the movie Heretic in this. As of all episodes, there will be spoilers about the thing we're talking about, but I'm just throwing in a warning because people get really upset about this.
We are a spoiler podcast.
Yes, we should have called it like full spoilers, but I'm sure that's already someone else's name.
There's probably 9 of them.
Yeah. I mean, our original name, there were a bunch of them.
There's 5 of them. There's like 5 of them.
5?
Yeah.
Okay, glad we changed it.
Yeah, we're the only intro skippers, or at least
for
the
now.
first. The first. We're the first.
Can we like get some kind of copyright on that?
Sure.
Okay, great. Anyway, so some trivia I have on this. Hugh Grant clearly ate up this role, and he did get a Golden Globe nomination for it, his 7th. Persuading Hugh Grant to take on the role of Mr. Reed took about 4 months, with the actor emailing directors Scott Beck and Brian Woods back and forth with questions about his character. Hugh Grant came to mind when they saw an interview where he said, "I'm getting bored of playing obvious roles and being typecast," and wrote the character of Mr. Reed with Hugh in as their top choice for the role. And they have said in subsequent interviews that they had difficulty thinking of another actor for the part.
I would say so too. I mean,
Can you think of another actor who could play that role? I have one. I think Michael Sheen could do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about Matt Berry? Then it's a different movie.
I don't know. It's too funny.
Yeah, you're right.
There were some jokes in this, though. A lot of it was Hugh Grant purportedly improvised a lot to keep the other actors on their toes.
Interesting. So it was like a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory kind of vibe?
I don't know. I couldn't say that. I wasn't there. But,
Okay.
When he mentioned the angel Moroni, he mispronounced it, and then the actor corrected him.
Oh, that was improvised.
That happened on the spot. That was improvised.
Okay.
I do also want to point out that Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East were both raised Mormon and were able to give valuable insight into the religion when shooting the movie. They are both no longer Mormon.
Now, I was not raised Mormon, but 2 of my best friends growing up were Mormon.
Okay.
So I went to Mormon churches a lot.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any insight from that? Because I've never been to one or a temple.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that he brought up, like the general idea about Mormonism when they're talking in the living room, I kind of knew all that. I even knew about Moroni.
It is Moroni?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot which one it was. That's why I said it
he
both
said
ways.
Moroni, and then they corrected him as Moroni.
Moroni does sound like an Irish last name, come to think of it, and that doesn't make sense for the context of,
Of being an angel? Yeah.
Of being an American angel.
Right. American angel. I always thought...
You should make an album called that.
There's probably... It's that. Speaking of names that are taken, I'm sure that's taken.
Okay.
Yeah.
The end credits feature the statement, "No generative AI was used in the making of this film."
Interesting.
Interesting, indeed. Sophie Thatcher, the actress who plays Sister Barnes, performs a cover of Knockin' on Heaven's Door that plays during the credits, despite earlier her character saying she doesn't like her singing voice.
Oh, that was her.
Yeah.
Cool.
And, it's pretty meta because it's a reiteration itself, which becomes a very prominent plot point in this movie. It is a reiteration of the 1973 version of Knocking on Heaven's Door, set to the tune of Fade Into You, which came up quite a bit during the plot of the movie, if you remember the Creep by Radiohead address.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of address, the address of the house is 237. You may know that number if you've seen The Shining.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, as a musician and a songwriter, I ate up that whole scene about comparing the three songs to each other. And, that really... I wouldn't say that it fascinated me because I kind of already knew a bit of that story, but in general, there have been many cases of lawsuits where a song sounds like another song.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about the whole Ghostbusters fiasco.
Ghostbusters with "I Want a New Drug" by Huey Lewis and the News. Then there's a very famous guitar player named Joe Satriani, and he's really only known to other guitar players and musicians. That's sort of his main audience. And when Coldplay came out with a song that was almost identical to his, he had to do something. There's also the case of "I Won't Back Down" versus "Stay With Me." "I Won't Back Down" by Tom Petty and "Stay With Me" by Sam Smith.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm curious because a lot of music is by nature sampling, or if you want to say derivative of other work. Where do you draw the line?
Well, the courts kind of are coming up with those parameters, and it seems to be each time is a little bit different. I was analyzing The Air That I Breathe versus Creep, and what I noticed was that it was 3 chords were the same in the verses before it changed, and it sounds like 3 chords, the same chord progression, might be enough. And then I listened to I think it's called "Be Free" by Lana Del Rey, and her verse is I think 4 chords of Creep. And the way the lawsuit was settled was the writers of "The Air That I Breathe" were then given writing credit on Creep. So that's how they figured out. So they make royalties from Creep in the same way that they would make royalties from "The Air That I Breathe." I don't know what the exact percentage is, but that's what Sam Smith did with Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne.
Oh, yeah. Olivia Rodrigo has something like that going on, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I guess it happens often. I mean, I think plagiarism is bad and wrong, but I think there is some sort of derivative nature just by existence of some things like music and design.
Right. Well, a couple of things. There's only 12 notes in a scale, right? There's only 12 notes.
I believe you.
Yeah. But also, it can be accidental plagiarism, especially with music, because you can think that you're writing something that no one else has heard or written, and then you realize, oh no, wait, that was that was the theme song to Saved by the Bell. Or something.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't know, but you know what I mean. Like your or that was the loading screen to The Sims. We're gonna have an episode about this next. Actually, we're gonna have a music episode soon.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it can happen accidentally, and I've also noticed that there are certain court cases where there's different levels that the court considers plagiarism. So there's like intentional plagiarism and accidental plagiarism with music. Mm-hmm. Anyway, sorry, off on a tangent. Love Heretic so much.
Yeah, right out the gate.
Got to talk about how much I love this movie.
Speaking of things that I know about that are tangents, the Landlord game, which was brought up as something else that was derivative.
Yes.
That is a real story. It was stolen from the original person who made it, a woman named Elizabeth Maggi. She created it to be, well, she had two different instructions, the anti-monopoly instructions and the monopoly instructions, and she ultimately was more drawn to the anti-monopoly version because monopolies are bad. Predatory business tactics are bad. I know, hot take. But it was stolen by a man named Charles Darrow, who became rich off of it while she died in obscurity and purported a false history on that for years.
Man. But
that is stealing. That right there is not, I think, the same argument.
That's intentional plagiarism.
That is stealing intellectual property. Mm-hmm. F you, Charles Darrow. Anyway, let's get to this. We're not going to break it down scene by scene because that makes the podcast last 2 hours. But essentially what we're doing is we're seeing two young women, I think in their early 20s, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton. Sister Barnes seems more confident and aware of the world, and Sister Paxton seems pretty naive and sheltered.
Quite.
Yeah. And they're on mission, and they're going to see a reclusive older man, Mr. Reed, who invites them in under false pretenses. And they say, okay, you know, even though they're a little uncomfortable each step, what with, oh, my wife is here, but she's not in the room. And, oh, there's blueberry pie. There's no blueberry pie.
Although there is eventually.
We'll get there when we get there.
Okay.
But anyway, they keep getting drawn more and more. And I think a lot of it is them just being polite and putting up with it. I wonder how much of that has to do with him abducting all women in the end. Because women tend not to want to cause conflict or be seen as disagreeable. Because, you know, when you're seen that way, people stop cooperating with you. Men stop cooperating with you. And you just want to be seen as cool or whatever. And, you know, they get into arguments with him, or let's say heated, spirited discussions about religion, about Mormonism. And we get to the point where he gets more and more threatening.
Right.
And he talks about what his religion is.
Right.
And what is that, Jason?
Right. I mean, should I say it?
Yeah.
Control.
The
world's one true religion. Mm-hmm. But what I will say is this. When I think the movie is just under 2 hours, right?
Just under, like an hour 50.
So I had to pause it around a half hour in. And a half hour in, they're already in his living room. And you know that they're going to be going further back because you've seen trailers or whatever. Mm-hmm. So a half hour in, I'm like, wow, there's 90 minutes left of this movie. Is he just going to torture them for the next 90 minutes? What's going to happen?
I think the scary thing about Mr. Reed, by the way, that's not his real name, is it? It's just a play on mystery? Mystery?
I'm
guessing.
At one point they called him Mr. Reed, R-E-A-D, because he had so many books.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's another interesting trivia about this, and that is that none of the characters are ever addressed or receive a given name. They are Paxton, Barnes, Reed, and Kennedy.
Right.
Mr., sister.
An elder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No first names.
Yeah.
Not one.
Not needed.
I guess.
Not in this movie.
I don't think Mr. Reed is his real name, but I guess it also doesn't matter. And I'll come back to the topic of things that don't matter as we get forward.
Okay.
I mean, I wanted to bring up this. I mean, jumping ahead, this is
Sure.
It does get very horror. I mean, I guess you're right. It has horror elements. Somebody gets murdered. Someone gets attempted murdered. Mm-hmm. More than one person gets murdered, actually. I'm pretty sure the only one who makes it out alive is Barnes.
Right.
I don't think things look good for the women trapped in the cages in the cellar.
I would have loved, because I'm one of those people that loves it when there's a button at the end of the movie, and like I know that she got out and that she was alive.
There is a button at the end of the movie,
but I would have loved to have seen, like, I don't know, just like, oh, the paramedics show up or the cops show up, just something that we know that she was safe and that she didn't die in that field. Because she was stabbed pretty deep.
I think the point is that she saw the butterfly, even though the butterfly wasn't there.
Okay.
That is such a stand-in for the rest. I mean, I'll get to it now, which is, we get into, they go to the doors, belief and disbelief, right? And you're supposed to pick one or the other. But to me, I think the answer, as is most answers, is ultimately in the middle.
Right.
In the gray area. Ultimately, I think this movie inspires conversation and thought. And that is a great thing for a movie to do. And it did achieve that, which is it does sort of force you to think about what your take on this is. And I think that's a very universal feeling for anyone who watches this movie.
What's interesting about some of the movies that came out this year and that were popular this year, and by this year I mean the end of 2024, now it's 2025, but the movies are still
right.
Current. You could argue that Conclave also teaches that the one true religion is control.
Well, the thing is, I think both of their sides have points. That's interesting. I mean, this is my personal belief. I don't think you have to agree with me. And it doesn't matter if you agree with me, but it's just what I think. Is that, yeah, I do think religion has a lot of aspects of control, big and small. And I think Paxton has a point too, which is, maybe everything she believes in is based on a lie. Who cares? Who cares? Because it's making her a better person, and it's making her be a kind person in a world that isn't kind. And that's necessary and that's needed, and it gives her comfort and her joy and her hope and her belief, and that is what matters. I guess in my opinion, though, I can see if you are very atheistic or very religious, you would probably feel differently, but that's what I think.
Sure. I mean, whether we want to admit it or whether anyone wants to admit it or not, or embrace it, our entire planet is made up of societies that all are deeply religious, whether it's one religion or the other, whether segments of those religions influence government or influence society itself. There's a lot of religious people in this world. There's more people that... And now, the difference is you can believe in God and not be religious. You can be spiritual and not be religious. And that was the point, I think, one of the points that this movie was making is that it was about religion specifically and the control that it brings.
I think I looked at it as, what is the point of religion? And there's several answers for that. Again, I think both Reed and Paxton have good points. And I think that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I actually loved Paxton's turnaround when she kind of called him out on everything towards the end of the movie.
Well, Barnes told her to. Yeah. She was like, question everything he does. Push back.
Sure, she told her to, but she didn't give her specifics. And Paxton knocked him down one after the other.
I mean, yeah, she did a good job. They both did a good job. That's why it's so interesting.
We're talking about them like they're real people because the movie affected us that much.
They're not. But I wanted to talk about the idea of near-death experiences.
Okay.
So oftentimes near-death experiences are seen as intriguing by members of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, Mormons, as we've been calling them. Right. And they've been seen as interesting because they can be seen as affirming belief of the afterlife, or even interpreted as evidence of God or a spiritual reality beyond what we see. And I think that's interesting because it really ties into something that Paxton said early on in the movie, where she's saying, oh, I think this is evidence of God. And I see this and I think, how could you possibly doubt? And, Barnes looks a little bit more questioning than her, but I think that's very much intentional, even if it wasn't explicit.
So obviously, Reed sets up a near-death experience for them to experience. And my question to you is, do you think that the filmmakers had in mind that whichever type of religious person that Barnes was talking to, did he have a scenario set up for each one of them? Like if he met someone that he was trying to kidnap that happened to be a different denomination of Christianity, or happened to be Jewish, or happened to be Muslim, did he have something else set up with his network of imprisoned wives?
Or do you think they're all Mormon?
I mean, it's supposed to be taking place in a sort of smaller Colorado town.
Yeah. But then wouldn't Kennedy be more worried? Like, hey, I've lost so many missionaries.
Exactly. I don't think they're all Mormon, because sooner or later they would have figured out that they were all at Reed's place.
Or that they all disappeared. It's weird when lots of people from one church disappear.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kennedy, Topher Grace.
Right. So I went from going, is that Topher Grace, to, oh my God, that's Topher Grace.
Topher Grace actually does a lot of cameos in different movies. So, yeah.
That's cool that he did this one. He must have read the script or known that it was like going to be cool.
Well, you know, with great power comes great responsibility.
Spider-Man.
Voltaire. And of course, he played the worst version of Eddie Brock in Spider-Man 3. He's done better work. We like Topher Grace. Anyway.
Spider-Man 3 was just doomed. I don't know if that was Topher's fault.
No, but his character was a big part of it, let's say.
Okay.
Let's say
I would argue that the goth Spider-Man was another big part of why the movie
Toby
was bad.
in his quote-unquote cool badass look.
Yeah.
With his dance. Mm-hmm. I used to have an office next to Tobey Maguire's office, and I would stand out on the balcony and do that dance.
Do you think he saw it?
If he did, I never found out. But he did move eventually, so, you know, maybe.
You mean like he moved out of the office, or like you saw that he was moving?
His production company moved out of the office.
Oh, so you think that your dance moved them away?
I'm not saying my dance didn't make him not move. I use too many negatives. I don't know. The answer is I don't know.
Okay.
But that was always really funny to me. And I'm sure I'm not the only one.
One of the things I loved about the movie was that, yes, how he pulled off his resurrection stunt was explained to us, the movie watcher. When Sister P is figuring it out and calling him out on it and telling him what she figured out and what she didn't figure out, I like that little hints were thrown to us as the moviegoer. It felt satisfying.
I don't know if this was just me, but both of the women in the prophet's position looked different to me. The first one had dark hair and the second one had light hair. Am I wrong? Because I was like, that's obviously a different person.
Their faces were similar, but I thought their hair color was the same. You know, there was a lot of lighting tricks in that movie, and use of light could make dark hair look light and light hair look dark. So I feel like they probably chose two women that looked almost identical, because for us to believe that Reed was pulling this off, I feel like it needed to be.
I do wonder how he captured the women who weren't Mormon, because a lot of religions don't have outreach.
That's true. That's going to be fascinating. How long were they there?
Enough to have their looks degrade to be, you know, withered and starving.
Yeah. I mean,
horrible.
And did he choose women that all looked similar to each other, or is just that their degraded state all led them to sort of look the same way?
I think that's an unanswerable question.
Yeah, I guess so. But I wonder if the filmmakers had that in mind or not.
It's not real.
See, she said it's not real, and we're living in a simulation.
Why did he bring up simulation theory?
He brought it up because, as he admitted later, he was riffing.
Yeah, it was a very weird choice.
Yeah, they did show that he was noticing Sister B's birth control scar.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe he was going to use that as part of the whole thing.
But she's not, Paxton immediately was like, no, that's birth control. So it didn't work.
No, it
That
didn't
was
work.
stupid.
Yeah.
Mr. Reed, do better.
I would say,
I
Mr.
have
Reed.
notes for your villainy
Mr.
murder.
Reed, how about you don't be a villain and let everybody go? Wouldn't that be at the top
But then
of your
there'd
notes?
be no movie.
That's
I did
true.
appreciate the poster for the Layers of Hell because that's very much what's going on here in this horrible house. Oh, it just, my house is on a hill. I thought you noticed. And, obviously the door is down the hill. So you have to go down there.
Mm-hmm. Dante's Inferno.
Oh, boy.
At what point did you think that both staircases led to the same room?
Immediately.
Okay.
Immediately. Because
Okay.
one, this guy, he's talking in a way that makes me think he thinks this is going to be a huge reveal and it's going to be so shocking for me, the idiot who's being forced to watch this. So, yeah, I thought immediately they're both going to the same place and the place is bad.
Well, I feel like
Maybe it's because I'm a woman and I am already paranoid and assuming the worst is going to happen when I'm trapped in a situation like this.
I feel like though the filmmakers were trying to trick us, the viewer, as long as possible into thinking that maybe he was telling the truth, at least as far as one door could leave and one door is a trap.
I was talking to someone else about this, and they were saying what was so scary was you don't know what he wants. Does he want to trap them? Does he want to teach them a lesson? Does he want to kill them? Does he want to assault them? What is his goal? And I immediately thought the worst of him. As soon as the pie candle, when the shot where she turns the candle and looks at the pie, I was like, oh, you're both dead. He's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Immediately. And then I thought the worst of him from then on. And guess what? I was right.
You were right. Maybe sometimes, look, in order for us to exist as a society, we do need to trust each other. But in this situation, don't trust them.
No.
Don't trust them.
I disagree. I'm the devil on your other shoulder, and I say trust no one, and they're bad.
If you trusted no one, though, society would completely break down.
Yeah,
and we'd
but
all
if you're
kill each
being
other.
lured into a weird house by a weird man who's a proven liar, don't trust him.
I agree with you there.
Okay, good.
But, his wife is just shy.
She's not real.
She's just being shy.
There never was a wife.
Technically, you might say that all of those women were his wives.
That's disgusting, and I refuse to accept this reality.
Okay, fine. What I want to know is, how the hell did he build that? And how long did it take him to build that? Because besides the staircases going down into the
that's
I'll call it the murder
definitely
dungeon.
an ADU that didn't come with the original floor
Yeah.
plan.
But then you go down the stairs and there's a whole other thing happening. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about like an incredible amount of excavation needed to be done. And whoever built that must have known there's no way he dug that by himself. You saw Breaking Bad. You saw Better Call Saul. They had to bring in 12 engineers from Germany to build that place.
Maybe that's who the other women are.
All engineers that he...
Yeah, they're all German engineers.
Oh, man, those poor engineers.
Yeah, that's probably not true. I think they're all religious people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would guess.
So this movie got 91% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I thought it was excellent. I thought it would get at least one Academy Award nomination, but it did not.
Kind of a bummer, right? Mm-hmm. Especially because of some of the other movies that were nominated this year. You would think that this fit in right with it. I was on the edge of my seat the entire movie. I loved this movie.
I really thought Barnes was going to be the final girl because she was the more, street smart one.
All the reason why this movie is so good, because a lot of the things that we thought that they were telegraphing us were wrong.
Well, it's also Sophie Thatcher is the actor, and she's a bit of a scream queen herself. So I thought, oh, yeah.
Oh, this is like her redemption?
No,
so
it's like, she's going to be the scream queen again, and she wasn't. She got knocked off. I love casting like that, like what they did with Hugh Grant as, he's never played a religious psychological villain before.
But he has played a murderer before.
This isn't his first horror movie. That is true. But, you know his type.
Right, of course. His aw shucks, I'm the British gentleman. Will you please
I'm
marry
bumbling.
me? Yeah.
Please marry me. You
Yeah.
American woman in an unspecific media job. Well, he's kind of aged out of that, which
Right.
I get the feeling that's exactly the kind of role he wants, is not what he was playing before.
Yeah, why would he? I mean, he's got so many. Because even I forget what was that series where he was a doctor and then he murdered someone. It was an HBO series, I think.
An HBO series?
I believe so. And he was it him and Nicole Kidman? Maybe.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Well, we'll look it up and find out.
I will say I did a red carpet once and I got snubbed by Hugh Grant.
What?
Yeah.
Did he? No, he didn't even bumble at you?
Nope. He just passed right over and went to another outlet.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, did he look at you?
No.
Oh, well, so at least it wasn't like he looked at you and then.
I think he's just like that.
Okay.
I think he looks at the outlet name and goes, okay, and makes a choice. Yeah.
Okay.
Notice how I'm not saying who I did this for.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
This was a few years ago?
It wasn't that long ago.
Oh, okay.
I'll just say that.
Okay. I can't believe it.
I can.
I can't believe anybody would snub you.
It's not personal.
On the red carpet.
It's not personal.
Speaking of him being a bumbling character, he's in a movie that I would love to do an episode on because it's the most WTF movie I think I've seen in a long time.
You already made me watch another crazy movie and I didn't like it.
You've seen this one though.
What is it?
Love Actually.
I actually haven't seen this. Love. Wait, no. Yes, I have.
It's a terrible movie.
Sorry, I was thinking of Notting Hill.
Yeah. No. He was in Love Actually,
okay,
which is
the thing.
awful
You know this.
movie.
You know I hate that movie.
Yes,
but this is not an original scoop. Everyone hates that movie, right? If you hate or don't hate that movie, please email us at the email address. I know what introskipperspod@gmail.com.
It's a terrible movie.
No, it's a bad movie, and if you like it, why? I want to know why.
10 minutes later, The Undoing. That's what I'm thinking of, where he was in a miniseries on HBO with Nicole Kidman, where he plays a bumbling, aw shucks doctor. Turns out he's murdering people.
I wouldn't mind that.
You should watch it. It's pretty good. Maybe we'll do an episode on it.
Maybe.
Because you don't care about spoilers, so the fact that I already told you that he's a murderer, who cares?
Mean, I know some people really care, but I super don't care. Because I care more about how we get there than getting there.
Yeah, we all know we're going to get there. So let's watch the performance. Let's watch, how you're getting us there differently this time. Filmmaker / showmaker.
When I'm watching, even a show like Severance, which is, people are obsessed over the mystery. I think it's not really about that. I think it's more about, it's an intense character study. It's more about, I would say, the characters and the story than it is about the mystery. The mystery is probably going to let us down, if I'm honest, because that tends to be the pitfall of mystery box shows. So, enjoy the ride, because that's probably going to be the best part. I've gotten on a tangent, but it's about watching things, so it's not that much of a tangent.
That's what this show's about.
Ultimately, I feel the value in this movie is getting you to relate in some way and ponder in some way what your relationship to religion or faith is and what you think about it.
It certainly got me pondering, for sure.
Because I think people across different religions and people who aren't religious, they seem to not dislike it, at least, not feel incredibly insulted by whatever was portrayed in this movie, which is a difficult balance to strike.
Right, like there were no massive protests around it, were there?
I don't think so.
Okay, good.
I mean, you said the word massive, so no.
Oh, okay.
Technically, no.
I mean, every movie gets protested by some group.
Sure. I don't think every movie, but sure.
Every movie if it's good.
So, Jason, what is the one true religion, in your opinion?
Control.
Okay. No, I didn't ask what Mr. Reed's was. I was asking about you, and I already asked you about Mr. Reed.
So tell me yours. What's your one true religion that you think exists?
Wait. I don't think there is a one true religion. I mean, I think I got into it.
Trick question.
No, there isn't one true religion because to me, it's, there's no one true answer to what is the meaning of existence. It's all extremely personal.
Right.
This is just my point of view. I would describe my belief system as like optimistic, agnostic nihilism.
You had me until the nihilism part.
No, you got to even it out. You can't all be sunshine and sparkles.
Mm-hmm.
So I think ultimately nothing we do matters. So like in the movie, when we got to the ending with the butterfly and she sees it, but we see it's not really there, it doesn't matter if it's not there because it matters to her. And that's where the most mattering is. The Earth is so small, and we are even smaller in the scope of the universe. Most of us won't be remembered. And those who are, okay, cool, you're remembered by the rest of the ants. Does it matter? I don't think so. But to me, that means from the micro sense, what we do does matter. It's freeing. How we experience our short lives matters, and how we affect others' experiences and their short lives also matters. There is no answer for what is the one true thing, what is the one true meaning, but I think the answer is to live well and be good, or at least neutral, and if not for yourself, for everyone else. Anyway, I hate billionaires.
My philosophy is very similar to that. It's pretty simple. It's do good, avoid evil. It's be good to one another. I do think that like if we look at our purpose for being on this planet and nothing else than to just help one another, I think that's a good place to start.
I think you are and I are in line then.
Then there we are. And I forgot to close the studio door today, and that's why you hear...
Oh, that's what that is?
That's why we hear lots of cars.
That's why there's two doors?
I apologize. That's why there's two doors.
Oh, because I was like, why is that one door open?
Because I left it open by accident.
Well, you know what? Nothing matters.
Yeah. If it bothered you, podcast listener, I apologize.
Sorry, everyone. I'm going to leave spirituality and religion, that decision up to you. But misophonia is true. And if you're bothered by noises, I believe you, and I believe you're right.
I apologize. And on that note...
Is that the end of the episode?
It might be.
All right. Well, did you like Heretic? Let us know and subscribe to the newsletter because that is on our website now.
It is. We have a mailing list.
Yeah. And we know what we're going to mail you.
We totally know.
No one can say we don't know.
But if you meet Mr. Reed, just remember to not go into a stranger's house. Really, just don't go into a stranger's house.
I will say in response to this, the Mormon Church has made more clear their safety policies regarding their missionaries.
Oh.
Yeah.
You mean they've made it more clear to them or to us, the American public?
To us, the public who are not inside the church. They released a statement condemning the portrayal of violence against women, and they posted an article on missionary safety to assist journalists and the public with questions and concerns regarding the safety and well-being of missionaries. Hey, don't attack missionaries and don't pull down their pants. That's not cool.
No, not at all. Now, so... did they say that Sister B and Sister P wouldn't have ever entered that house? Did they say that? So it didn't meet with the safety parameters or what?
The post says nearly 80,000 young women and young men serve in one of 450 missions for periods of 18 to 24 months. Each of these individuals has family, friends, and church members who love and support them. The well-being and safety of these missionaries are our priority. And each missionary is expected to complete training and follow missionary standards to help protect them and reduce a risk while they serve. And then the standards of conduct are, it's long. I'm not reading this. But
okay.
they were taking care to say, we care about our missionaries and their safety. And please remember that they're humans with, thoughts and feelings and families. And maybe don't murder them.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, on that note, don't murder missionaries.
Don't murder anyone. While you're at it, while we're doing hot takes today. Anyway, don't kill people. Billionaires are bad. So many lessons were said in this podcast today. And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Intro Skippers with Jason Charles Miller and Kim Horcher is produced and edited by Kim Horcher and Jason Charles Miller. The name order doesn't matter. Additional writing by Kim Horcher, theme song and incidental music by Jason Charles Miller. Take it away, Jason! You can rate and review this show, 5 stars only please, anywhere you'd like, and you might find your review read on a future episode. Got a question? Email us at introskipperspod@gmail.com. That too could be featured on a future episode. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Intro Skippers on your favorite podcast platform, but preferably one we're actually on. All right, thanks for getting this far. Here's a special treat for you. Another pro tip. Fake leather is future garbage. Bye-bye.